மீண்டும் என் பாட்காஸ்டுக்கு வருக. இன்னைக்கு ராபர்ட் கிரீனோட அடுத்த லா 22 பார்க்கலாம். வெல்கம் பேக் டு மை பாட்காஸ்ட். ப்ளீஸ் லுக் அட் லா 22 ஆஃப் ராபர்ட் கிரீன்ஸ் 48 laws of power. Read law 22.
22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. When you are weaker, never fight to honor's sake. Choose surrender instead. Surrender gives you time to recover, time to torment and irritate your conqueror. Time to wait for his power to wane. Do not give him the satisfaction of fighting or defeating you. Surrender first. By turning the other cheek, you infuriate and unsettle him. Make surrender your tool of power. The reversal the point of surrendering is to prevent martyrdom. While martyrdom can offer power and inspiration, it's often messy and unpredictable. It is best to avoid it at all costs. சொல்லுங்க ஆனந்த்.
இதில் ஷோ தி அதர் சீக் தான். தட் இஸ் உனக்கு கொண்டுடுவான்னு தெரிஞ்சால் சரண்டர் ஆகிட்டு யூ லிவ் டு ஃபைட் another day. தி கிரேட்டஸ்ட் மாஸ்டர் ஆஃப் திஸ் is the father of our nation, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. At every stage between 1919 to 1947, he tormented the British using this law. What he would do is, first he announced a non-violent satyagraha. பீகாரில் சூரிச்சூராவில் ஒரு ஆக்சிடென்ட் ஆச்சு. one police station was burnt. Immediately he said, I will withdraw my conscience அப்படின்ட்டு. Then he started the great Gandhi March. Gandhi March, actually they arrested him, they did everything, and then he was called by Lord Irwin for negotiation. People were losing steam actually at that time. So what did he say? He brought his own salt to mix with the tea and drank it. And then out of 10 demands, 2 demands he agreed. 2 demands they agreed. He went all the way to the round table conference once, and where we were supposed to negotiate. Having agreed to go to the round table conference as the sole representative of the Indian National Congress, he there said, I want total and complete independence, and kept quiet. He didn't say anything. He met Charlie Chaplin. He went to all these slums where the poor. He did lot of drama. He lived in the slums of London, and he milked all the publicity he could get and gained the sympathy of the British people. 1942, Quit India movement, he did the same thing. Then he said in Second World War, I will cooperate with you if you promise me independence. And when he knew that Hitler was more dangerous than the British, he cooperated. At the end of the day, again there was going back and forth. 1942, he did this Quit India movement, and there was a lot of hoo-ha, and then he agreed for some compromise. In fact, the 1935 going back and forth. So, history mari varum. 1935, after demanding Purna Swaraj in 1930, he agreed to the Constituent Assembly. That is, he agreed to Congress will participate in elections. In what was then with accepting a British Governor General, we fought elections and Congress formed governments. And that is how Rajaji became Chief Minister, what was then Prime Minister of South India. And we introduced the sales tax, which continues till today in the form of GST. So Gandhi's entire life was this. He will harass them, they will call for negotiations, he will make 10 demands, out of which they will agree 2-3 demands, then he will pull back and again start negotiating. This is what he did all his life. And they could never kill him, because if they had killed him, he would have become a martyr. Finally, it took a Hindu fanatic to shoot him. He is the greatest exponent of this law. Vinod Solomon.
And in the book, Robert Greene talks about classical Greek history, about Greek empires and the Spartas and all that. Instead of talking about Greek history, I thought we'll talk about our Indian history, which has similar examples. If you see the Indian history, the fight between the Rajputs and Mughals is based around the same thing. Initially, when the Mughal wanted to expand into that region of India, they went inside and one by one they crushed one Rajput and they joined the Mughal as a partner. Then, by the time it came to Akbar's rule, the Rajputs were able to negotiate with Akbar, and Akbar was flexible, where he was tolerant about Hinduism, and Hinduism was allowed to flourish alongside with Islam. And there
were some marriages also.
Correct. Alliance marriages, yes.
Given in marriage to Akbar.
Correct. There's even a movie based on that. Jodha Akbar is supposed to be based on that. So that kept the peace going for some time. The Rajputs were sitting and waiting for their time, because always the time they wanted independence. They didn't want to be under Mughal rule. Then finally, in the time when Aurangzeb came, when the Mughal Empire was in its waning and it was going out, and the British were coming, they took their chance and they pushed the Mughals out of Rajasthan. This you can see in a period of over 200 years it took them. From the time they were occupied by the Mughals and to finally get their freedom, took them 200 years in very consecutive generations. But they waited, and they waited for their turn, and they waited for their chance, which is what this law is about. என்ன சொல்றீங்க ஆனந்த்?
அதே மாதிரி தான் சிவாஜியும் அப்படிதான். இன்ஃபேக்ட் சிவாஜி ஸ்டார்டட் தி மராட்டா எம்பையர், which came and they were ruling up to Tanjavur. One of Shivaji's brothers only ruled Tanjavur. Shivaji came to Madras and came to worship Kali at the Kaligamba Kovil. Kaligamba Kovil ஒரு sword இருக்கு சிவாஜி கொடுத்ததா. So, and on the offspring of that Maratha empire தான் Peshwas. One of Shivaji's offsprings was the ruler in name. The Peshwas were running the empire. After that, there were 6 or 7 Maratha empires, the Scindias, the Holkars, the Gaikwads, and they lost to the British under Wellington in the Battle of Assaye, and they surrendered to the British and continued to rule till today, that till independence. And they are masters, like Scindia, knowing that Congress is not going to switch over to Mokri, is not going to come in recent type power. He jumped from Congress to BJP. It's a surrender. They are past masters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another important thing to remember, this law also has a very practical application for everybody. இது எப்படின்னா நான் சொல்லணும்னா, நீ போலீஸ்காரன் வந்து பிடிச்சானா இந்த லா நீங்கள் அப்ளை பண்ணணும். டெண்டன்சி ஃபார் எல்லாருக்கும் என்னென்னா ஒரே ஈகோ ஆகிடுவோம். நீ யாருன்னு எனக்கு தெரியுமா, நீ டு யூ நோ ஹூ ஐ எம், நான் எங்கேருந்து வந்திருக்கேன் தெரியுமா, எங்கள் அப்பனும் தெரியுமா, இவன். அதுக்கு பதில் யூஆர் ஃபார் பெட்டர் ஆஃப் டெல்லிங் த போலீஸ் மேன், ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல் சாரி சார், நீ தப்பு பண்ணியோ இல்லையோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஒரு அப்பாலஜி கொடுத்துடு. அப்புறம் கான்ஸ்டபிளாக இருக்கலாம், லோ லெவல் கையாகவும் இருக்கலாம், ஆனால் மரியாதை கொடுத்துரு. முதல்ல ஹாக்கி சட்டைக்கு மரியாதை கொடுத்து நீ சாரின்னு சொன்னேன்னா there's far more chance நீ கையில் இருந்து வெளில வரத்துக்கு without much harm வரத்துக்கு பெட்டர் சான்ஸ். என்ன சொல்கிறீங்க ஆனந்த்?
Absolutely true. இது very true, and I have seen all this in my life. And சாட்சி காலில் விழத்துக்கு பதிலாக சண்டை காலம் காதில் விழுந்துற மாதிரி தான். போலீஸ் கான்ஸ்டபிள் காலில் விழுந்தேனாலே மேட்டர் ஓவர்.
மோஸ்ட் திங்ஸ் இன் தீஸ் ப்ராப்ளம்ஸ் precipitate வந்து ஈகோனால. நீ அந்த கான்ஸ்டபிள்காரங்கிட்ட வந்து எனக்கு அவனுக்கு தெரியும் இவனுக்கு தெரியும், நான் எனக்கு ஒரு லாயர் இருக்கான் அப்படிலாம் பேசி மேக் த ப்ராப்ளம் வர்ஸ். அப்புறம் தென் யூ இன்ஃபீரியேட் ஹிம், அவனோட ஈகோவும் வந்துடும் வெளில. அப்புறம் சரி வா உனக்கு ஒரு பாடம் சொல்லி கொடுக்குறேன்னு அவன் டிசைட் பண்ணிட்டானா அதுலேருந்து வெளில வர்றது ரொம்ப கஷ்டம். அதுக்கு பதில் காலில் வந்து சாரி சார் நீ தப்பு பண்ணியோ இல்லையோ, ஆனால் 99% டைம் உங்களை நிறுத்தினா உன்னை பிடிச்சா நீ ஏதாவது தப்பு பண்ணியிருப்ப, ஏதாவது சிக்னல் ஜம்ப் பண்ணியிருக்கலாம், ஹெல்மெட் போடல, பட் இட் இஸ் அ லா விச் யூ broken. ஸோ இன் ஆல் ஃபேர்னஸ் நீங்கள் தப்பு பண்ணியிருக்கீங்க. ஸோ யூ பெட்டர் ஆஃப் டு அப்பாலஜைஸ். மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த வீடியோஸ் ஆமாம், அண்ட் மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த வீடியோஸ் யூ சி ஆன் ரீசெண்டாக நீங்கள் ஒரு வீடியோ பண்ணீங்களே, ஆமாம் தத்துவ பேஸில் ஒரு வீடியோ பண்ணீங்களே அபவுட் ஒன் லேடி ஹூ ஸ்போக் வெரி ரூட்லி டு த காப்ஸ் அண்ட் embarrassed herself and embarrassed her daughter. ஆமாம், ஸோ அதுதான் ஃபைனலி பிகம் மோர் எம்பாரசிங். நீங்கள் தேவையில்லாமல் சண்டை போட்டு அது யாராவது ஒருத்தர் இந்த வீடியோ பிடிச்சு அது இன்டர்நெட்டில் போட்டு அது எல்லாரும் உன்னை சீச்சி தூத்துன்னு சொல்லி இன்னும் ஒன் மானம் போயிடும். At the heat of the moment, although ego.
I agree completely.
So apply this law on a daily basis. Learn to surrender. Put your ego aside. If man like Gandhi could surrender himself, I think we as small low-level Indians, we can also surrender without any issues.
The Gandhi is the greatest example of this law.
Correct.
You have to learn from the master. Ellaring Gandhi Punta. Bhagat Singh.
Sannagadi.
Bhagat Singh, Ambedkar.
The only person he failed, which he regretted very badly, was Jinnah. He wasn't able to sway Jinnah.
He finished off Bhagat Singh, the communists. He finished off Ambedkar with that Pune Pact, Congress Pune Pact. He was a master at this.
And he even quelled when the partition problem happened and millions of Indians were massacring each other.
He went to Noakhali. He went to Calcutta, Noakhali, went on a hunger strike, and one man completely shut down the fights. Gandhi will be, that's why Einstein said, generations to come will never believe such a man ever walked on this earth.
Correct. And the thing, he fully believed in this law, meaning it wasn't half-hearted. It was a full-on effort. He was ready. He put all his chips in. And very few people can do that. நீ half-hearted the other person will think you're a phony. You're fake.
Martin Luther King tried the same thing. Unfortunately, he was shot. He became a martyr. And it became messy. Martin Luther King is the example of the reversal.
Even Nelson Mandela also did this.
Nelson Mandela was, he initially did a armed struggle and all that. But once they put him in jail,
then he realized Gandhi's method.
Once he put him in jail, he played this to the perfection.
Yes, he realized what Gandhi did and the best route, and he also adopted it.
And that's why he remained one of Gandhi's greatest followers. Malcolm X is another guy who fell for the reversal. He was assassinated. This is an absolute law. When you deal with lower bureaucracy, not with police, with sales tax, any government official, surrender will get you far. It will placate the other fellow's ego.
And you should always remember you have time on your side. Once you know what your end game is, உங்களுக்கு என்ன வேணும் தெரிஞ்சிடுச்சுனா பேஷண்ட்டாக இருந்து வெயிட் பண்ணதுக்கு you have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain. Because நீங்கள் சரண்டர் பண்ணும்போது you have nothing to lose. எல்லாம் கொடுத்தாச்சு. If anything, you have everything to gain. So it gets very easy for you, and the pressure is on the other person. Because everybody has humanity. And the humanity will start nagging him. அப்படியே ஒரு அரிப்பு மாரி இருக்கும் இல்லை நான் பண்ணது தப்புன்னு அவனுக்கு தோண ஆரம்பிச்சிடுத்துனா then he'll cave in and give in to you. Correct. It was an interesting law, interesting conversation we had. So tomorrow we will, yes.
Anyway, Vinod, I enjoyed this law and I loved Gandhi. A chance to quote the great Gandhi and to believe that India today believes that Gandhi is
correct. And they actually want to remove him from the currency now. Strange times we live in, Anand.
So I enjoyed this law. Yeah, we will do 23 tomorrow. Thank you, boss.